Character Matters and Other Life Lessons from George H.W. Bush. Yes, a brand new book written by his former Chief of Staff, Gene Becker.
Yeah, this book was released less than 10 days ago. It is already the #1 new release on Amazon. This morning, we truly have the privilege of sitting down with Gene Becker, the former Chief of Staff for former President George H.W. Bush and the author of this book, Character Matters. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, Gene.
It's so much fun to be here with you all. And let me just say, if it weren't for people like you and your willingness to talk to me about this book, it wouldn't be #1 anywhere. So thank you so much for allowing me to talk about this book.
Well, it's our pleasure. I mean, obviously, the former president, someone we followed for many years here at KPRC, so we're glad to have you on to talk about it. I mean, right off the bat, I guess, what kind of inspired you to write this particular book?
You know, Owen, I would love to say that this book was my idea because it was a brilliant idea. It was my editor's idea. So I wrote a book called The Man I Knew, about the 25 years I was his Chief of Staff, and it ends with his funeral, because I was his Chief of Staff until he died. And I was having lunch in New York with my editor a year or so ago, and I had some book ideas for him, and he said, okay, yeah, whatever. I want you to write another book about President Bush. I don't think we're done with him. And I confess, I looked at him and said, you do remember he died at the end of the last book. I couldn't figure out where he was going with this. Sean had the wisdom to see that there was a lot we could all learn from George Herbert Walker Bush by how he lived his life and the examples he set. So he challenged me to put that book together, and here it is.
This is it.
Yeah.
And you talk about that and what we could all learn from this, the example. Talk to us, when someone picks up that book, when they walk away after reading it, what are some of those lessons that you hope they walk away with?
I think, Brittany, right now, the main lesson they should walk away from is our country is so divided right now, and we don't talk to each other, we yell at each other, we don't know how to agree to disagree. There was a time when you could have a very interesting political discussion and then go have a beer. But nobody does that anymore. And so what I want them, every reader, I want every single person in Washington, D.C., particularly to read this book, is we need to get back to that time where I would call it civil discourse. Let's talk to each other and listen to each other, and then, yeah, maybe go get a beer. It doesn't have to be the way it is now.
You got a lot of stories in this book because there are a lot of life lessons. Can you tell us a couple of your favorites? Maybe it's hard to pick.
It's really hard to pick. This really isn't a story as much as one of the best examples in the book would be his friendship with Bill Clinton. And the 1992 campaign was nasty, let's be honest. And President Bush lost that election, and they went on to become best friends and to raise hundreds of millions of dollars for disaster relief, including after Hurricane Ike, after Hurricane Harvey. All the presidents came together after Hurricane Harvey. His friendship with Bill Clinton is just a great example of if we can put aside our political differences and just work together. The other story is a little more fun. So a young woman who lives here in Houston named Kara Sanders used to work for us. She's manning the front desk one day, and the following people called President Bush all at the same time: Colin Powell, Secretary of State James Baker, and the governor of Texas, George W. Bush. So she, is putting them all, the phones are ringing off the hook. So she's about ready to run into his office and say, oh my God, I have Colin Powell, I have James Baker, I have your son, the governor, who do you want first? When the fourth line rings, we only had 4 lines, and it was Barbara Bush.
Oh.
So Kara goes right into his office and says, okay, Colin Powell, James Baker, the governor, your wife, who do you want first? And President Bush looked at her and said, put my wife through until the others all call him back. He was a smart man. He was a very smart man.
That is a great story.
That's a great example, Owen.
Yeah.
and my friend Anthony Yanez is out there somewhere, for every husband in America. You put your wife through and call the others back.
That's right.
Second that one.
Do not put the wife on hold.
No.
You think of, you mentioned his relationship with Clinton. It reminds me in a different way of leadership. Father to son, W being good friends with Michelle Obama, for example.
Yes.
It shows that either side of the aisle, folks can indeed come together.
Can indeed come together. The George W. and Michelle Obama are huge friends, and leading up to this interview, you were showing some photos, and one of them was all the former presidents backstage. That was at Texas A&M. That was right before a big concert we did to raise money for Harvey. And there you have two George Bushes, President Obama, President Clinton, President Carter, just coming together and smiling and laughing. I do love that photo. Ignore the fact that I'm photobombing that photo. It's very embarrassing. Ignore the woman in the back. One of my favorite things about that photo, though, people used to ask President Bush, oh my gosh, why are you friends with Bill Clinton? And he would talk about how much he's a good man, he has a good heart, and he always would say, you know, I'm old and I've run out of things to say. And when I'm with Bill, I don't have to worry about that because he never quits talking. And what I love about that Hurricane Harvey photo, there you have 5 presidents, and who's talking?
Oh,
yes, there is.
Exactly.
Yep.
They're all listening to President Clinton, and I love teasing him about that. But please, I'm begging your viewers, ignore the woman in the back.
Oh,
that
no.
was, I think,
No.
I ran out and photobomb the presidents. Oh my gosh.
wow, what a
But
photo.
that's the way, that photo just shows that's the way it's supposed to be.
Here's a shot of the two of you together.
He's wearing an aardvark hat.
I was going to ask what that was. Okay.
You know what,
Aardvark.
Brittany? It's an aardvark hat.
Okay.
He wore it one whole day. I'm actually trying to have a very serious conversation with him there. If nothing else, it proves how much fun he was. Sure. But I said, why are you wearing that hat? I like this hat. I'm like, okay. He just did it to bug me. And it was successful.
Yeah.
And it worked.
And it's captured in a photo forever for you. Yeah.
And now it's my favorite photo.
Yeah.
I love that we're talking about this for folks that will get the book. They can see and read all the other life lessons, and I'm sure a lot of great stories. Before you go, though, the goal here, obviously, the big picture goal is to get back to a place of decency in politics where we can speak to each other respectively and not yell and scream obscenities and personal attacks. I know you're hopeful for that. Do you have a way to get there? Any idea of how people can begin to break down what's already been built up and get to that place again?
I think, when President Bush founded Points of Light, his great organization on volunteerism, he always said, start with your neighbor. Find out what you can do to help your neighbor. Then start with your street and your community, and then the first thing you know, you're talking about the world. What I would recommend, besides buying and reading the book, is I would recommend talk to your friends, talk to your family, have people over to your house for dinner who don't necessarily look like you, who don't think like you. Just have some people over and just have a discussion and just start trying to tear down the walls that we have built. The great New York Times columnist David Brooks wrote this great column, how we tend to live in silos right now. We need to come out of those silos and talk to each other. And I'm going to show my age here. Put down your phone, get off social media, talk to people.
Yeah. And listen.
And
right?
listen. Thank you, Owen. That's even more important. I'm going to quote you. That you not only just talk to them, talk with them is what I should say, and then listen to what they have to say. Thank you for adding that.
No, thank you for being here and sharing this with us.
Thank you
Great
for
stuff.
helping spread the word.
Pleasure to get to talk with you, Jean Becker. Thank you so much.